Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of We Watch Shutter. My name is Michelle, and who's here with me?
It's JD.
Oh, it's JD. Oh, it's
Well,
JD. We're
I'm doing
starting
all
this
right.
thing great.
I'm doing
You're
pretty all
smiling.
right, Michelle.
Oh, are you? Okay,
How
that's
are
good.
you doing? How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good. Good.
Good.
I'm glad to hear it.
I told you that I had to start off this episode,
Put
and
some bass in
I
your
have some
voice.
things. I have some things to spring on you.
Okay.
So this is the Michelle in review
Yes.
episode. It's only our second time doing it. Last month I was like, okay, that's kind of cool because yes, I watch a lot of media. And this month I was like, well, it's basically my episode. I'm gonna watch a lot of media. And I didn't watch a lot of different types of movies. I only got through like 20 or 30 this month. But every month I like to watch a horror franchise. I am going to get really into the franchise that I watched. I wanted to start off with a content and a spoiler warning. If anybody wants to skip, so we could do a timestamp. It's going to be easy. We can tell them just skip to like 32 minutes in when I get done. But I really did not want to spoil this thing. Plus, there's some pretty heavy shit in it. So the franchise that I really need to get into, there's a really big vampire series that I had never had the opportunity to see before. It's got some other cryptids in there. There's some werewolves. Uh, It's a vampire werewolf movie. I watched all 5 Twilights in February within the span of 2 days. And I got some feelings because I finished the last one today. JD, Twilight. Have you seen them? Have you heard of them? You're looking, you're doing nothing. JD is just, it's vampires, it's horror, it counts. Have you seen Twilight, JD?
You know, this is even your web camera refuses to put you in focus right now, Michelle.
That's fair. Yeah. Yep.
Now,
I have a lot of
look
thoughts.
at the end of the day, I guess I probably should have put a little bit more thought into Michelle sees 8 million more things than you do. Let's just let her ramble about stuff and you can pipe in with your attempts at being clever every now and then. And now you're going to make me listen to you talk about
Twilight.
Twilight.
The Twilight Saga. I got some thoughts.
Okay,
You want to
well,
hear them?
well, I have literally 3 things at all that I want to talk about, and I can do it all in less than 3 minutes. Can I do that before you make me sit through this nightmare?
But then what if they want to skip and they want to hear the other movies? They're going to have to jump. I think we got to start with the Twilight and put the timestamp for when they can come back and it's safe. I just don't want anybody to have the Twilight Saga Breaking Dawn Part 2 spoiled. Because I'm going to spoil it.
But can't we put those timestamps anywhere, Michelle?
No, I think we have to start with the Twilight. It's the only
You're
way. You put my name in the thing that we do, and now this is how we're doing it. Twilight. You ready? You ready, JD?
It doesn't matter if I'm ready or not, Michelle.
Nope.
I've given.
Okay, we're gonna talk
I've
about
already,
Twilight.
I've already given you the keys to the kingdom, and now I'm just like, what the,
You
Michelle?
made a
This
mistake.
is no offense, Michelle, but this is why I talk over you all the time.
You don't want to hear about Twilight? Have you seen them though? You did not answer my question.
I have not. No, of course I have not
Oh.
seen any of them.
Okay.
I've seen one very out of context scene from one of them. I don't know which one it was. I don't know anything about it except it was a portrayal of some very very young and inexperienced acting. To be kind about it. Anyway, Michelle. I'm gonna smoke some medicine while you put me through
Yeah.
this Twilight nightmare. Please, you
Yeah.
have the floor. Ladies and gentlemen, this month on Michelle in Review, The Twilight Saga.
It probably won't be crazy long, but I do know that I have opinions about it. So we're going to call this the Twilight Nightmare, aka the Twilight Mare.
It's not for me, is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, I will say some other things. Okay, Twilight 2008. First off, got to start off and say that I thought this would be a silly thing to do for the show. I completely forgot that there were 5 movies, and I completely forgot that they are 10 hours and 6 minutes total. Spent 10 hours and 6 minutes on Twilight. I had read the books. I was a young, early 20s lady. While they are not great literature in the case of like, wow, this is incredibly well written. You know what? I still swooned. I'll admit it. I want 2 guys to fight over me where one is a vampire and one is a werewolf and I have to choose. I liked the books. I knew that they weren't great, but I did enjoy them. Then I never saw the movies because I had heard of the movies and I had not seen them until now. Twilight, 2008. First off, I know you don't like to say that a movie is bad. Um, Twilight though, the first one specifically has a lot of choices that
Oh,
culminate
you
into
please,
an
Michelle,
unfortunate circumstance.
you go ahead. You go ahead and live your life by whatever
Yep.
standard you're comfortable living it by.
Yeah, yeah. It is very specifically the first movie. It gets better. The rest of the movies are not as bad, though I have thoughts. But that first one, it's a lot of dramatic, very close, very oddly angled camera shots, and every action scene is, oh boy. I don't think it's possible to make Robert Pattinson unattractive, but they definitely tried. They gave it their best. And I think that man is hunky dory. A lot of the problem are every action scene. Bella is not like other girls. But soundtrack. The soundtrack to Twilight is fire. I love that soundtrack. It's got a lot of stuff that I listen to. Also, I understand why they cast Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson because their chemistry was palpable. I'm not surprised that they dated for a long time. And then I did, after finishing the first couple movies, go and look up how their relationship ended because I was curious if they were still together. And that was a whole dramatic hole that I wish I had not gone down because now I was watching the rest of the Twilight movies knowing that Bella and Edward did not wind up together and have the happily ever after. It ruined it for me.
You didn't know
So,
that until just now.
no. I knew that they had dated. I knew nothing about the breakup or anything else related to it. I don't really care about people's dating history at all. Unless it's
Okay.
like Timothy Chalamet and whichever Jenner Kardashian he's with now. And that's only because I saw a silly meme about it. One thing that I did have to respect though is that I found an interview with Kristen Stewart where she said, and I quote, Pattinson had an intellectual approach that was combined with, I don't give a fuck about this, but I'm going to make this sing. And I was like, ugh, same. And I respect that where they're like, Twilight is gonna be a weird time, but let's give it our all. And you can tell that they did give it their all. And then we got the Twilight movie. And thank God for that. I'm glad that exists because since we got Twilight 2008, we then got the rest of the movies. Okay. The first movie is just called Twilight. The other movies all start the Twilight Saga colon and then the rest of the name. Looking these up on Hulu, trying to watch them in order, not knowing the order that they're in is fucking impossible. Because if you look up Twilight, you're gonna find the first one, and then you're gonna see a bunch that say Twilight Saga, and then you're gonna be like, okay, cool. And they're super helpful because aside from Twilight, the other ones say 2, 3, 4, or 5, except the third one, Eclipse, which does not say which one it is. So then you have to compare the years, and that's too much effort for this. So fuck off with that that choice because I had to figure out what order these were in. I couldn't just do like Twilight 3. I had to know it was annoying. The Twilight 2, I watched the entire movie and I noted nothing. So that was definitely a film I saw. I did note after it was over, like, wow, I didn't make any notes about this, but that it was better. And then Twilight 3, actually, fairly good movie. Not
Don't say
good,
it.
not good, good, but like, wow, this is watchable and kind of swoonable. And I do like Bella Swan's father, Charlie, because he's like hey, this vampire guy that you're into, I don't know he's a vampire. I don't know why I said that. But this guy that you're into, maybe you shouldn't be into him because he seems kind of possessive and he broke your heart and then you like tried to kill yourself. So maybe you shouldn't date him anymore. But then I also like that Kristen Stewart is like, Father, I'm an independent woman and you have to respect my choices because I'm almost 18 and I will marry him. And I like that. I like that they gave her some agency. That's pretty great. I do think it's funny anytime somebody carries Bella anywhere, she just rides on Jacob and Edward, not in a metaphorical sense. Like they just pick her up and run with her a lot, and it's always very funny. She rides on Edward Cullen's back in like the first movie. He leaps onto a tree and then he turns to her and says something like, hang on tight, spider monkey. And oh God, I died. It never stops being funny when somebody picks up that lady, brings her somewhere. It's so fucking funny. Then there's this part where they're talking about how they can't have sex because Edward's worried he would fuck Bella to death. Holy shit. Did not expect that to be in here. And then it's kind of cute that Bella's like, well, I don't care if you fuck me to death. I still want to fuck. And Edward's like, I can't do that. I'm 100 and something years old and I'm old fashioned. Also, Victoria in this movie is suddenly Dallas Howard. They just replaced an entire fucking actress with one that I definitely know. The little girl from Silent Hill is here, and the entire cast of all of these is great. Martin Sheen plays the big baddie in the last several movies. He's great. If you had just seen this cast, you'd be like, I bet that's going to be a phenomenal series. Bella's wigs are very bad though, and that's unfortunate. And then Twilight 4, my two notes are the burst scene is dope. Oh my God. I remembered that because here's the thing, JD. Here's the thing. Bella
I'm sorry. Are you talking to me now?
Bella and Edward get married, and he doesn't want to turn her into a vampire yet. But they enjoy their wedding night and their honeymoon together. And all of a sudden, she is very pregnant, and this baby is growing very fast because now it's a vampire human hybrid. And it is killing her to carry this baby around, and she gets fucked up. I don't know if they spell it out in the movie, but in the book, I was like, this is hardcore. The baby breaks her back, forcing its way out of her. It's intense. It's really great. That's actually pretty hardcore and good job on that. But then my other note, one of my favorite bands is Sleeping at Last. I love them. One of their songs, their cover of 500 Miles by the Proclaimers, which is a very beautiful cover about a very like silly song, was my wedding song, our first dance together. And one of my other favorite songs by them is Turning Page. So Turning Page by Sleeping at Last, unfortunately, is the song that they decided to choose for Edward and Bella's first sex scene. And I'm never ever going to hear that song the same way again. So thanks for that. Then we get to Twilight 5. My big notes that I did have to bold and underline is CGI baby. I don't know why these people could not find a baby, but they clearly could not find a baby. So they're like, let's take the little girl who's going to play this baby when she's a little bit older and CGI her face onto this baby. Unless it was a real baby with like a green screen thing going on over its face, but it's terrifying and hilarious. Also, Jacob the werewolf decides to imprint on the baby, which I knew was happening, but I was hoping they would make the choice to take that part out because he's like, it's definitely not what you think. I'm just going to be like a protector and a brother and a lover to her. And I'm like, she literally was just birthed, sir. Please. That's
When you
upsetting.
say when you say imprinting, what?
I am so glad that you asked. I am so okay, JD.
Uh,
I don't know. I just assumed everybody knew about this. So Jacob is a werewolf and he has been in love with Bella, but everybody's like, "Well, it's not like you imprinted on her." And
I'm
imprinting
I'm I'm so fucking sorry I asked.
it's not like you imprinted on her. And then he's like, He's explaining to Bella that imprinting is when you fall madly in love with a person, but it's more than just loving them romantically. You want to protect them. And it's like you can't breathe when you're around them. And she's like, and you didn't imprint on me? And he's like, no, I just can read the other wolves' thoughts and I know what it feels like. And then the first time that he sees Bella's baby, who was literally just escaped from her womb, he gets like this vision of her growing up and becoming a
So,
beautiful woman, and it's this big like fuzzy slow motion beautiful music thing, and now he's in love with the baby. But it's not like that, he says. It's not like that,
because it
but it
sounds
is
an
like
awful
that.
lot. It sounds an awful lot like he wants to fuck up that baby.
Yeah, it absolutely does. It definitely absolutely does. But he
All
does
right.
clarify it's not like that.
Oh well, if
But
he says so.
exactly. But then when she's old enough, they are going to date. But it's not like that, he says. He can't help it. He's a wolf. It's a wolf thing, JD. You wouldn't understand. I don't know if I've mentioned so far, but I am hashtag Team Jacob. By the way, Taylor Lautner, once he figures out that he is a werewolf in the second movie, before that he doesn't know. He's not allowed to know that he's going to become a wolf someday, but he basically like hits puberty and now he's a werewolf. And after that point, he's like, man, fuck shirts. He's just walking around the full movies. Every time he sees Bella, he's just got like his 6, 8, 10 pack out. He's just like, damn girl, what you up to? He's ripped. And just the entire time he's like, I don't need to wear a shirt. And I'm like, yeah, this is why I'm not Team Edward. Why why did they ever put this man in a shirt? That was a bad choice from the beginning. So he's just like, I'm a wolf now. Wolves don't wear shirts, and he just never wears a shirt. Near the end of the movies, then he wears a shirt. Like for like 2, 3, and 4, there's no shirt on this man because now he's a wolf, and wolves don't need shirts. Then I have thoughts about Bella when she finally does become a vampire because they're like, whoa, she's like so cool and she's crazy strong and she's beautiful and she's all the things and like that was unnecessary. And then the finale of these movies, JD. Okay. So basically, okay, you're not allowed to turn a child into a vampire. It's a huge sin. It's a really
Oh,
bad
but
thing. You
but you
don't do
can
it.
you can want to fuck a child. You just can't turn it into a vampire.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm glad that you understand the rules of Twilight.
Pardon me. You can imprint on a baby,
Yep, that's totally fine. Yep.
but
You can
don't you
imprint, but don't
dare.
don't turn one. Yeah. And
All
it's
right.
because children like they threaten everybody because they have no self-control, blah blah blah. They murdered a bunch of child vampires. It's a very sad thing. And somebody sees Bella and Edward's child and they're like, "Oh my god, they turned a child into a vampire. I have to go tell the Volturi or Volturon, whatever they are, the Italian vampires who are in charge of all the other vampires. They live in Rome and the main guy is Martin Sheen." So she runs off to tell them. And then they're like, but she's not a child we turned into a vampire. She's a human vampire hybrid because Edward and Bella had sex before she was turned. And they're like, that's impossible. But no, scientifically, it's not. Don't shut up. You don't know need to know the details. So instead, no, she's just like a child human vampire hybrid. And the Volturi show up and they're like, well, we have to kill her anyway because we don't like the power she has. All the vampires have superpowers, by the way, JD. Bella, her power is that she's a shield where she can stop all the other vampires' powers from affecting anybody that she wants to. Edward can read minds. Her daughter, when she touches you, her name is Renesmee, which is like the dumbest fucking name. But Renesmee, the baby, when she touches you, she can tell you what her first memory with you is, and that seems like a completely worthless power. And I hope that it gets better as
Which
she ages.
which one of them? Which one of them paints pictures of the future?
Oh, that one's Alice. You would love Alice. Alice is your type.
Riley,
Riley does not
please
like
keep
Alice.
talking. Riley is
Yeah, no,
pissed off about this as much as I am.
okay, I will gladly keep talking. So, the end of these movies, I'm just gonna spoil them. This is why you had to get the spoiler warning at the beginning. The Volturi show up and they're like, "We gotta kill that baby," and they're like, "Well, the baby is a girl now because she ages really fast." And they're like, "That's crazy." And she's like, "Also, she's not a human child that we turned into a vampire. She was born as a vampire human hybrid." And they're like, "Well, we have to battle." And Alice shows up and she can show the future. And she's like, "I'm gonna show you why this is a bad idea." And then, she touches the one guy and everyone fucking dies, JD. I know that you are yelling at your dog right now or reprimanding him, but like everybody dies. They rip people's heads off. They take somebody's jaw and pull them apart like that exorcism movie you just liked. They slice people in half. Everyone dies. And then after this gigantic battle scene where I'm like, holy shit, this is intense. What is happening in this teenage drama between a vampire and a werewolf? They go, JK, that was just a prediction that Alice had. And now there's not going to be a battle. And then a battle doesn't happen. And Martin Sheen's like, yeah, it'd probably be a bad idea if we battled. We should just let them be. And then Edward and Bella are like, oh man, I'm so glad that we're in love and that this werewolf will date our daughter when she's old enough. The end. That's Twilight.
Cool. Can we talk about something else now?
Yes, please. Okay, next.
I cannot believe.
I had to get it out.
I can't believe you just did this to me. That's so rude.
I watched all 5 Twilight movies in the last 2 days.
Well,
this is why I said we
that,
can't
Michelle?
do the recap yet because I have to watch my franchise for the month, and I went with Twilight.
Okay.
It was a bad idea.
So,
okay,
guys, that's
okay. So 20 minutes 55 seconds is if you just showed up after skipping to this point. Welcome. You missed a lot.
Oh, you think I'm going to go back and put a timestamp on this? If I had to sit through it all, then everybody else has to sit through it all, too.
Oh, I wish we did videos because you did not like that.
I didn't pay attention to most of it.
I know. You were just staring off, waiting for it to be over. Like it was a dentist appointment.
Look, all I'm going to say is, and please note that I'm being very broad spectrum, non-gender or anything inclusive. Teenagers like some real dumb shit.
But the books are actually pretty good. If you just want to be swooned and you're like, they're gonna fight over me, it's pretty nice.
Okay.
Yeah, if you like Twilight but you want something better, check out the Fever series. In the Fever series there are centaurs, and if you have sex with them, you go crazy and you have to keep having sex or you die. So highly recommend the Fever series. Something moaning.
I kind of feel like you would have to have already gone crazy in the first place to quote unquote have sex with a centaur.
It's they trick you into, they're like a siren song for sex. So even though you don't want to, you do want to, and it's like a trick.
What I'm saying is
reread those books. There's
what I'm
some
saying is
books.
Centaurs aren't real.
Wow, now you're saying some controversial shit.
No, I'm being pedantic. Oh, I'm so
on to our regularly scheduled programming. So this is our second month doing it. I've been dividing my shit into recent horror, older horror, which we have defined as pre-COVID, non-horror. I don't know where Twilight fits into all of that, and then news and literature as our 5 categories. So
Twilight falls into a category all its own called JD's Nightmare.
I'm gonna watch it again next month, just so I can have more opinions. I have so many notes that I did not read. And then every episode is Michelle in review. Oh, these poor people. Okay, well, recent horror. Do you have something for the recent horror category?
Yeah, a couple of things. I just recently picked up my Screambox subscription again. I did let it lapse for a little while because I just had a lot of stuff going on. They were releasing good stuff. I just didn't have time to see all of this other stuff. I'm real happy, though, that I got it back. I'm not even going to go into specific detail here. Just a couple of titles that I want to shout out. One is, I think their most recently released Screambox original. It's called Here for Blood. It's kind of a comedy slasher home invasion kind of thing. Real fun. I had a good time with it. It's dumb in the good way. You know what I mean by that. It's very much. It definitely reminded me a lot of the spirit of like your 1980s like Return of the Living Dead or something to that effect in tone. Obviously, it's not a zombie sort of thing, but anyway, really, really enjoyed that. And then also just recently saw a movie called Crabs, which is this micro budget, just legitimately indie movie about some hermit or not hermit crabs, horseshoe crabs that get radioactive from a nuclear meltdown and they go on a killing spree, and it's just so cheesy and so ridiculous, but also super splattery fun. It builds to just an awesome. Don't get me wrong. This is not. It's splattery and gory, but that's as close as this gets to horror, right? This is very comedy, very fun, sort of thing. Even more so, I think, than Here for Blood was, and just one of those movies that I was talking about on Twitter, and somebody replied and said something about, like, yeah, this is one of those movies that I feel like is bad good, and I was like, no, this is just a good movie, like, but that'll give you an idea of what we're talking about here. This is the kind of thing that some people would describe as bad good. I don't think this is a movie that's good in spite of itself, just because of the spirit it had. I think this is a movie that knew exactly what its limitations were and played into them, and sort of built the movie around those ideas. Like, okay, well, if it has to look like this, how can we play that to the best effect? Rather than just like, what's the best we can do with what we have. And I guess that's a real subtle difference, but I really, really, really loved Crabs. And so there's just a couple more horror comedy kind of titles on Screambox that I definitely think people should check out.
Here for Blood was also on my list. It's a great movie.
Oh, you did see that. Okay, excellent.
Yep.
Have you seen Crabs yet?
No, not yet.
Okay,
It's
cool.
on my list for the weekend. But I think that's one I'm gonna ask hubby to watch with
I
me.
will say that there are a couple of moments. So one of the main characters in Here for Blood is an independent professional wrestler. There are a couple of moments where they play this real, like, oh, big dumb musclehead pro wrestler guy kind of stereotype, but it just sort of happens in a couple of places, and it doesn't connect to anything in the plot at all. They just sort of felt out of place, and as a big pro wrestling fan, I kind of wish they had just left those out of there, but it's still a good time.
I could say that wrestling is fake, but I did rant about Twilight for a very long time, and I just won't do that.
Well, I mean, it is
I know.
it is fake, but it's like, so what? So is, you know what else is fake? Twilight.
Mhm.
Anyway, no,
Never say
those are the only two movies really that I wanted to draw any attention to. Anything else is something that we've talked about on the show, or that I've talked about on the Ghoul blog and JD. Oh, there is one other thing I should talk about. There was no write up in the JD Watches Tubi series this week, because JD watched a movie called Postocalypse, and JD was taught to believe that if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. So we just didn't write a review this week, and we will go to another one next week.
I can't believe you looked at a list and you went, Postocalypse, that's probably got some good stuff that I'll want to
Here, no, here's why I picked it. First of all, it's a Tubi original. Second of all, it was the shortest one still on my list at an hour and 71 minutes. And it was animated horror called Postocalypse and had a weird thing. Here's what I didn't know is it was made by some of the guys who were involved in, like, I think Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Anyway, one of the main characters is voiced by the guy who voiced Master Shake on Aqua Teen Hunger Force, and it's just like, it just sounds like Master Shake the whole time, and that's distracting, and it's a sense.
You have completely sold me, and I'm not even joking. I just looked. Oh my God, it's animated, and it's made by the Aqua Teen Hunger Force guys. 100%, I'm going to watch this. So thank you.
Yeah,
I wish you had written a blog.
Here's a big part of why I didn't get to the write up. To be completely honest with you, I tried watching the film 3 times. I never finished it, and it's only 71 minutes long.
Oh. Well, I'll watch it 3 times and pay rapt attention to it for you. I only have one thing for recent horror. It's kind of lighter, and I actually wound up watching it 3 times in February because I watched it once on my own. I watched it once when I told the husband that he had to definitely see this. And I watched it when I went to Denver because my best friend had not finished it. He'd only seen the first 2 episodes, and I told him that was unacceptable. And that is Has Been Hotel. I know we talked about it a little bit when I got very excited that it finally hit streaming. There's a YouTuber whose name I have now forgotten, Vivian? I don't know, a vet, something like that. But she had put out a pilot episode on YouTube, and then they finally made the first season. It is an animated musical about the daughter of Lucifer and why did I just Lilith. And she wants to have a hotel where they can rehabilitate people who are in hell so that they will wind up in heaven. So, despite being Lucifer and Lilith's daughter, she is very all sunshine and rainbows trying to get these people who are not good people to heaven. And it's animated and it's a musical and it's very adult and really great. I love the animation style. It's a lot like Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, which is one of my favorite animated series. The voices include Mirabelle from Encanto, Katie from the Mean Girls musical. We've got Jeremy Jordan. Darren Chris plays a guy in like episode 6, and I'm in love with that man. It is great. If you like animation and you like musicals and you like demons, check it out for sure. I know JD might be typing. Are you making a note? Oh, damn. You'd probably really like Has Been a Hotel.
Yeah, it's one that I know you've mentioned several times previously. I'm not
Oh,
making a
it's
note
so
of it
good.
here specifically at this moment, but it is on my list of stuff that I need to get around to eventually. You can't say, horror and or horror adjacent musical without me being like, well, god damn it.
Yep.
And it don't get me wrong, it is that because here's the thing about it. When a horror or horror adjacent musical works really well, I really enjoy them, but man, when they're bad, they're real bad.
Yeah. No, this is
And
great. I've been listening to
I
the
don't really
soundtrack a
say
lot.
bad too much anymore, but
Yeah. Poison by episode 4 is a very dark song, but yet it's so poppy and so catchy that I've had it on repeat. And I'm like, God, this is a terrible song about sexual abuse. And yet can't stop listening to it. It's
hey, it's a brand new day. That's a good one.
that is a good one.
I'm
Okay,
sorry, I'm
on to
randoming.
older on to older horror
I don't have
older
anything in the older
horror.
horrors. You just take it away.
Okay, cool. I only have one. I tried to keep my category short because I knew I wanted to talk about Twilight for a long time. I just watched Skins or PLAs, I think would be the Spanish pronunciation. It's from 2017. It is on Netflix. Again, JD, watch this one because it would be up your alley if you have not seen it. It was very Cronenberg-esque. Basically, it's a world now where physical disabilities and deformities are very common. And so it's kind of like 5 interwoven stories of people with disabilities and deformities. And it's a very, very dark comedy. It's one that I made the mistake of saying like, "Hey friend, do you want to watch this movie I've heard good things about?" And the entire time we just kept looking at each other and being like, "Oh, this is not it's like Possessor." And it was the same guy. It was Aaron. When I went like, "You want to watch Possessor?" And then we watched it together and we're like, "This is weird." That was our Skins experience of like, "Oh no, why do I keep doing this to our friendship?" There's one lady who has a butthole instead of a mouth. I'm just going to say it.
I was just so I did. I just brought up the Wikipedia page, and there's a
Yeah.
poster for the movie, and I was about to say, does this person have a rectum for a mouth? And you
She
got me.
absolutely does.
And then this person doesn't have any eyes.
Yep.
This person looks like they're half palsied.
Yep.
Yeah, this is okay.
Yeah. It's
Nope.
it's weird, but I really enjoyed it. And if you like body horror and just weird uncomfortable films, like I said, it reminded me a lot of Cronenberg's
But
work.
but
Both
doesn't
him
have a
and his son.
story.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
Okay.
I actually thought
Okay.
the story was pretty like kind of happy endings for some of them, but it does not portray it that way very well. It's so fucking dark. But I really enjoyed it.
I mean,
So
there's on the poster for the movie is a person with a butthole mouth. I mean, that kind of makes a statement about where your movie's going.
yeah, yeah, it does. I did not realize I didn't look at the poster. I just remembered I had put it on my list. So, on to non-horror. I again only put one thing in this category because I knew Twilight fit into a bunch of them, and I just didn't want to do that to us. I don't know if you've seen this. I know I've talked to you about it, but I don't remember. Dear Zachary, a letter to a son
I have
about his
not.
father. Oh boy. Okay. I am going to keep this very quick because I think this is one that you should go into with little info, but it is one of the most heartbreaking documentaries I've seen in my whole life. I had watched it for the first time like 10-ish years ago, and I wanted to rewatch it. And again, this was when I was in Denver with the friends who I watched the Butthole Mouth Lady with. And we put on Dear Zachary because our friend Nicole had never seen it before. And I was like, I feel like crying. Do you want to watch this documentary? It's about this guy's friend making a film about his the son's father after he's been murdered. And it's just like it's heartbreaking. And I didn't tell her anything else about it. I did not remember a lot about it. We were sobbing for like the last half hour. That is one of the roughest documentaries I've seen in my whole goddamn life. So if you want to feel something, Dear Zachary is currently on Netflix, and it's upsetting. It's really, really upsetting. And I like when things can make me feel stuff because holy shit. Dear Zachary, check it out if you feel like crying. It's so upsetting.
I do have one a pretty random not horror thing that I actually just thought about when you mentioned the not horror category. I'm not sure how everybody else's tastes lie, but excuse me, I feel better now. Really, I'm gonna be fine. Anyway,
Yeah.
I don't know where everybody else's tastes lie, but Food Network Tournament of Champions 5 kicked off a couple of weeks ago. All four previous champions back to compete. Brooke Williamson, Manish Chauhan, Tiffany Faison, Mei Lin, all four of them. They won in that order, by the way. They're all back. Number one seeds in their divisions. I won't spoil it for you if you haven't had a chance to watch both of the episodes that have been released so far, but hot damn, there's some cooking going on. And the brackets are already heating up. That's all I'm gonna say. I love cooking
For
shows. I don't know if you know. I am a over the last, especially over the last couple of years, because it was something that Mom and I could agree on watching when we would be hanging out in the hospital and stuff. We would watch a lot of Food Network shows, and I used to be a casual fan of cooking competition shows, and now I'm just like fucking psychopath for cooking competitions. And Food Network TOC, hosted by Guy Fieri, is like it's the mother of all cooking competitions. It's been won 4 times by 4 different people, all of them women, which I think is awesome. Brooke Williamson won the first year, and she was also in the finals in, I want to say, year 2 and 3. It's pretty
You did
great.
remind me that season 6 of Love Is Blind aired on
For Christ's
Valentine's
sake.
Day. I'm not going to do that to these people, but we could just have like a Food Network and Love Is Blind garbage TV.
Anyway, you can catch up with previous episodes of Food Network TOC 5 on Hulu.
One of the upcoming seasons of Love Is Blind is in Minneapolis, by the way,
Oh
and I really
God.
hope I know some people.
Why don't you go try to be on that show, Michelle? I don't
Well,
think
I
your
think they'd be
husband would
like,
mind.
no, he wouldn't care at all. He'd be like, go sit in a pod with some weirdos. Yeah, I'd be a
They'd be
character.
like, but ma'am, you're married, and you'd be like, no, he'll sign papers or whatever.
Yeah, he's looking for reasons to get rid of me. Do you know what I'm like?
You have any idea? You have any idea what property taxes cost in this state? Jesus, let's.
Don't get me started on taxes. We just did ours and it was a massacre.
Oh, I bet.
Okay. News. I have 3 news things. Do you have any
News.
news?
I here's what I know is they just announced and then released the trailer for why is the name just suddenly
I saw
disappearing
the
from me?
TV
I
glow,
saw the
or
TV
the glow
glow.
of the
Yeah,
TV. Yeah.
yeah. I saw the TV glow. Jane Schoenberg. Is that
Yep.
the? They made one of my favorite movies from a couple of years ago. We're all going to the World's Fair. Very excited about that. Also very excited about Love Lies Bleeding, the sophomore feature from Rose Glass, who made Saint Maud, which is also one of my favorite fucking movies in recent years. Like those
Starring
two
Kristen
movies.
Stewart from Twilight fame.
Yeah, well, also of other things. Look, she's significantly better today than she was then. I'll tell you. Anyway, stop making me look like a bad guy, Michelle. It's not nice.
Hi.
You set me. You
I'm,
set
I'm
me up here.
yeah, I did this whole thing because I knew that you were gonna be like, "Hey, Love Lies Bleeding comes out soon," and I was like,
No,
"Aha! I'll have just talked
yeah.
about Twilight."
So yeah, just those two films coming up, both highly anticipated. Everything I've heard in early reviews is that it seems like they're going to probably be polarizing, but the kind of thing that if you love it, you're gonna really fucking love it. And I strongly suspect I'm gonna love. I haven't watched a single frame of any trailers for either one. Please don't try to get me to watch any of that stuff, you goofy. Don't like random link send me like rickroll me with the trailer from Love Lies Bleeding or something. I'll get very upset. I don't think that's a thing that people would do, but it's a thing that I'm paranoid that people would do. So
Well, you
anyway,
often see previews of links that have been sent to you on social media, so I don't think you have to worry too much. But also, even though you haven't seen a single frame, Netflix has proven that love is blind, so it's okay. You can love it without having seen it yet. God,
What do
Chelsea
you
and Jimmy.
what kind of news do you have to talk about, Michelle? Mine was barely news. That's just more like shit I'm really looking forward to soon. I don't
I
follow
love
the
that
news.
this is the new segment. This is so
I don't
great. I love that. You're like, this is your segment.
Michelle frustrates the hell out of me with 20 minutes worth of Twilight discussion that she didn't. Oh.
You just told me all about Red Dwarf in our Ghost Watch. At least mine was relevant.
Hey.
It's got vampires. It's horror adjacent.
The guy was in the guy from Red Dwarf was in the other thing. It's relevant.
Yeah. Kristen's in Love Lies Bleeding, so we're all good.
No,
Okay,
you again. You follow the news way more than I do. I don't know shit about
Yeah.
news. Tell us what's happening, Michelle, please.
Okay, so first, my first one is not really a news thing. I thought it was interesting, and you're not gonna find it interesting, but I just went down a rabbit hole. And Gaspar Noé's Irreversible. I know you don't like it. I see the face. But it makes people physically ill for a lot of different reasons. And I read a whole article about how that was done through the sound design on purpose because one of the guys from Daft Punk did medical research to figure out which tones make people uncomfortable and played, I think it was like a 27 hertz sound wave for the first half hour of that movie. And that's just a fun fact that I had no idea.
Well,
And yeah, that worked.
I would hasten to point out that the use of low frequency vibrations as weapons or as devices to psychologically manipulate people has been around for quite some time. The military used it for a while. There's a band from Japan called Psy who used certain effects like that on their album Gallows Gallery from like 2007. So I mean, the suggestion that they invented this stuff for this movie is Captain Pedantic.
I don't think they invented it.
It's my new
but
surprise
I will say, Irreversible made me so goddamn sick that I think that's why hearing it in that context, I'm like, well, they nailed it.
Oh,
holy shit.
You don't think it was the things that happen in Irreversible? It was the 27 hertz tone they played underneath everything for a half an hour.
The really bad things happen at the end of the movie. The
Well, I
27 hertz
suppose.
happens for the first half hour where there's nothing else going on. So
Fine.
I think that's why, to me, that's just very interesting, because I'm like, oh yeah, that movie, I remember being one of the sickest. Like, I felt so nauseous. It's one, like, the movies that, like, that and
Yeah, for
Cloverfield,
sure.
but Cloverfield was a motion
Yeah,
thing.
and that's exactly what, like, again, like the like military sonic weapons and stuff. That was kind of
Mm-hmm.
their goal with them, was, as I understand it, was to not, you, like, South Park joked about it, but they talk about, like, the brown note, which is like a
Yep.
note that would make you. It wasn't that, but it was definitely like low pulse frequencies to make you physically uncomfortable. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. No, that's the first time that that's been in
I
this
just
movie and did
I
that. I
have
was,
to
oh.
apologize. I'm just in a real sort of weird, crazy mood right now because you made me listen to 20 minutes of rambling about Twilight. This is anything
It
that
was not
happens for the rest of
rambling.
the
It was
night is on
cohesive.
you.
I had structured notes. It was divided based on each movie. Okay, my next
News,
thing.
Michelle. News.
Yes, I've mentioned this before. Terror Bites, the evolution of horror gaming. The creators of In Search of Darkness, which did a lot of the coverage, I guess is the word I'm looking for, of a lot of classic horror films, talking to filmmakers and actors and all of that, and that's all on Shutter. They are doing the evolution of horror gaming, and they opened up their Kickstarter, GoFundMe, whichever one, and you can back it, and you can get access to all sorts of interviews that they'll be doing over the next year with all of these video game creators. I am so fucking pumped for it. It's going to be so much content. I am getting, I don't know, whatever tier. It was one of the higher tiers because I'm just so excited. But I love horror video games as much as I love horror movies. And oh my God. So if you want to back that and you want to get access to all the shit, just go look up Terabytes, the evolution of horror gaming. You will find it. There's a GoFundMe or a Kickstarter out there, and you can sign up, and then you'll get some shit on there. Holy
As
shit,
long
I'm so excited for it.
as long as they spend at least 30 to 45 minutes on Friday the 13th for the Nintendo Entertainment System, then I will probably be satisfied.
I just need them to have a chunk of Clock Tower, because Clock Tower is one of the most underrated horror games. It really got under my skin.
Have you have you played Friday the 13th for the NES, Michelle?
I have not, but I have seen playthroughs of it. I know all
Oh
about it.
man, it's it sure was a game, Michelle. It
It
sure
sure was.
was a game.
Except
Uh
games are usually fun.
yeah, well, I mean,
Usually, not always.
depends. It definitely depends on who you're asking, for sure.
That's fair. My other my other news is also video game, because the thing is, I could show up and I could just tell you movie announcements, but I have so many movie announcements every month. I go through various forums and articles, and I have my system, and I spend a Saturday at the beginning of the month, and I go through and I write down everything in the release date, and I put it on my list, and I have a system. So if you want to know what movies I'm excited for in March, I do have 140 things that are on my list that get released this month.
We
So,
should we should do a thing where you can make your lists public. You do have a letterbox, don't you? Can't you just like post like text
ooh.
lists of like, oh, this is everything I'm planning to try and watch this month?
Oh shit, I'm going to make a note of that, cuz yeah, I could very easily maintain it. My lists are insane, and I could just
You
make them
guys,
public.
like, I think sometimes people probably still think like the volume of me. This is a big part of the reason why we just turned this into let Michelle talk about a bunch of stuff, and JD will occasionally be a prick about something, because he thinks
Captain
he's
Pedantic.
funny, Captain Pedantic. No, I don't know where she finds like how what. Michelle, what's the most number of movies you have watched all at the same? Like she'll watch 2, 3 movies on different screens all at the same time. How do
Oh,
you do
yeah,
that?
then 3. Yeah, 3 for sure.
3 movies at the same time,
Simultaneous.
and
I will say, so that people don't get mad, it's not often. That's usually if I have like something I have to watch, like, I don't know, like an educational thing that I'm curious about or I have to do for some reason. And then I have a movie that like I really want to see, and then I have like, I don't know, a TV show that I'm not really, it was going to be background noise anyway. but I don't do it often because I do feel like movies, in order to
I
enjoy
love
them, you have to give
I'm
like full
I
full
love
attention.
that I'm here trying to sell Michelle watching 3 movies at the same time as a display of the impressive voraciousness of her appetite. And she's just like, "Oh no, I promise I don't do that all the time." Like I'm trying to compliment you, and you're like, "No, I don't do
Oh.
that all the time."
Well, I just feel like people would be like, "Wow, how can you even enjoy the movie?" And
We
you can't really at that point. It's more the obligatory like I have to see this thing.
Michelle, I think something you mentioned recently on the last episode we might very. I don't know if we're in need of a therapy episode. We just might be in need of like an extra therapist appointment. Holy shit!
Yeah.
I don't.
I
So
did go to the
guys,
doctor today and found out that I need to wear a heart monitor again for a week. So
oh,
that's
that's
fun.
cool. That came out of nowhere. Geez, thanks for dropping that
Yeah.
on me in the middle of
Well,
an
no, I'm
episode
just saying
record.
like therapy. Like, oh, well, I went to the doctor today. My resting heart rate is 140 beats.
Oh my God, Michelle, you should
Yeah, I
probably
know.
stop drinking caffeine immediately.
I'm drinking water. I drink tons of water. And she was like, "Do you feel fine?" I was like, "Yeah, I feel normal. I was here for a checkup."
Michelle, Michelle,
Yeah. Yeah.
not to be glib or flippant, but have you considered
Mhm.
that maybe
Mhm.
you are a robot?
I wish. Because that means I would never die and I could watch all the movies that I have on my
Have
list.
you, have you,
Yeah.
Michelle,
Uh-huh.
have you
Yep.
considered that you might be an alien?
That I had not considered, and wow, so many things would make sense. My obsession with squelches, that sounds like a thing that aliens would
Have
not be
you,
able to comprehend.
have you,
Yeah.
have you considered that you are, in fact, a very confused hummingbird?
Okay, hold up. I know a lot about hummingbirds, and you learned that about me after Sundance said that they're releasing a documentary about hummingbirds called All the Small Things or whatever. So I know a lot about hummingbirds, and I do not have the energy to be a hummingbird. They have to
Your
be
heart
awake
begs
so
to
much.
differ, Michelle. Your
True.
heart begs to
Oh my
differ.
god, the problem. I'm gonna go back to my doctor and be like, I don't need to wear the Zeo patch again. I don't like it. Please don't make me do it a second time. I found the issue. I'm a hummingbird.
Yeah, you're just a very confused hummingbird. That's
Yeah.
you'll
You know what?
figure
That
it
sounds
out.
very great.
You'll
Drinking
figure it
nectar,
out.
being afraid of the rain because it can break my bones because I'm such a fragile little lady. That sounds great.
Oh, what a horrifying life that would be, huh? Hummingbirds, beautiful, horrifying, all at once.
Yeah, yeah, their lives are very, very difficult. Okay, so my last bit of news,
Wow.
again, horror video game related because I love horror video games and this is my opportunity to showcase them. We got an announcement of a video game coming out in 2026. God, the wait is going to kill me. Brian Clark created the Mortuary Assistant, which, if you're into horror video games, you know about the Mortuary Assistant. It's very spooky. He is making paranormal activity video game. JD's just looking. He's not even holding the mic. Oh, okay, he's got it now.
I dropped the microphone.
Because that was a mic drop moment. I know.
No, we're already reporting things that are not happening until 2026.
It was
Am I doing
announced.
am I doing
That's
that
the
thing
news.
am I doing that thing where I'm just like an old man bitching at clouds?
Do you not understand what news is? This is the thing
No.
that was announced. I'm so excited.
What my point though is like why are they fucking making this announcement 2 years in advance?
For people like me who are just going to live
Why don't you just
only
like
to wait for the paranormal activity video game.
why don't you just like just keep your trap shut and tell me like the week before? Like
Okay,
what?
if you were making the paranormal activity video game, would you not be so excited that you had to tell everybody?
No.
Oh, I absolutely would. If I was like, holy shit, I'm gonna be in the paranormal activity video game. I'm the fucking demon. I tell everybody running through a house, oh bitch. Like, I'd be
Now
so excited.
Did you just say boo bitch?
Yeah, yeah, I did. I think I'd be scarier than a demon because, like, they'd be like, she's trying to scare us, but she's just annoying and we can't sleep. She won't stop
Wow.
talking about Twilight. Just like try to get people out of bed into another room and be like, now that I've got you alone, let me explain. CGI baby.
People are gonna be like, did they record this one at like 4 o'clock in the morning after some sort of weird
Oh,
marathon? No, guys, it's just barely midnight.
yeah. I'm wide
But
awake. My
we
heartbeat
we
is 140 beats per minute. I'm
we
good.
recorded nothing but 2 episodes tonight, and man, it's
Mhm.
been. Did you listen to the Ghost Watch one? I'm not even
No,
sure which
I
one we're
haven't
gonna.
yet.
I think we're gonna put out the Ghost Watch one first, and then this one. So maybe you already heard it. If not, Ghost Watch is coming next. I don't know how we're
And
gonna
then
do. Michelle,
go
how are we
watch
gonna do
Ghost
this?
Watch.
Which one?
Do what?
Which one am I gonna release first? Let's just put it all on Front Street right
Flip
here
a
while people are
coin.
listening. Flip a
Flip
coin.
a
Okay,
coin.
flipper coin.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then when you're flipping a coin, when you go, oh, I hope it lands on whichever, before it even lands, you know your answer because you've hoped for it.
What
And if
if
you don't
I?
hope for anything, then you just
I was gonna
go
say
with what the coin
what
says.
if I hope it lands on its edge?
Well, that would be pretty sweet. And then if that happens, bad things are happening in the world. I'd be very concerned.
Cool.
Okay,
Good talk.
literature.
Man, we're
Literature.
having a good time, guys. We're having a real good time.
I'm
We're
having
not
a great
weird at
time.
all. We're
I got my
not
Twilight
weird
feelings
at
out.
all.
I pride myself on my weirdness.
I'm
Okay,
gonna
literature.
eat so much
Which
spaghetti when we're done here. I'm so
Oh,
excited
don't
about it.
even say that. Now I want spaghetti. I'm
Come
coming
get
over.
some.
We're having spaghetti.
Yeah, I got a lot.
Okay. Literature, which includes comics and manga, including the series that I started this month, Crossed by Garth Ennis. I have had this very high on my list for a very long time. I saw somebody comment on a post somewhere that the sadness on Shutter is the closest we will ever get to a crossed movie. And I went, oh yeah, that's been really high on my list. It's one of the few things that like I want to find the whole collection and read it. And I found out that I can buy all the comics on Kindle for $300. So I started with the first chunk of the first 3 runs of Crossed, and I will be reading that for all of March. I did start reading it when I was waiting in the airport, and I didn't realize that the version I downloaded was a full color version of this very sadness esque comic. And then I went, I should probably move to some place where there's a wall behind me so that nobody walks by and kicks me out of this fucking airport. Because holy shit, I was like, oh, that is a full page. Okay, yeah, I should not be reading this in public. So then I went into the corner. I was not prepared, but oh, it's been so good so far. It's so good. Yeah. I don't have a lot to say except that if you like horror comics, Crossed is where it's at.
What else you been reading?
I'm still working through all the other books that I started in the last like couple months, including Maze Runner. Still have not finished the Maze Runner series. Still have not finished the fucking Sleeping Beauty sex books that I don't like. I've been working through a Brandon Sanderson one. I started reading the Final Girl support group, and that's pretty good, but I'm doing that one via audiobook, and I am having a very hard time with the narrator. I just don't think her voice matches what I think the characters should sound like. I've got like 10 books on top of all the movies and shows that I'm watching. I've got like 10 books that are sitting on my coffee table right now that are all partially opened, and I just flip through whichever one I'm in the mood for.
Michelle, you know that if you're not enjoying something, you can just stop, right?
No,
Oh, okay. Well, that's a bummer.
that's why I put a bookmark that I really like in the Sleeping Beauty book. So hopefully I will finish that one quickly and then I can have my fucking bookmark back. But
That's
currently
an
it's reserved.
that's an interesting strategy.
Yeah, it's not
Um,
working very well. I've been
a
reading
big
Jurassic Park for 2 years now, by the way. I'm hoping to finish that this month.
good lord.
It's,
Uh,
yeah.
I a big part of why I don't have a lot of movies to talk about this month is because I did finally find the focus and ability to sit down. I've been talking about it for a couple of months now. But Kayla Janice's House of Psychotic Women was finally made
Yes.
available on audiobook. and I'm not
Mhm.
quite done with it. I have about an hour and a half left. It's like the final chapter and everything, but I've been slowly making my way through it because the weather is some sort of weird climate change freak show in North Dakota this winter, so I've been able to take very long, strolling, pleasurable walks with my dog and listen to this. Anyway, it's you probably if you look at horror in any kind of academic way at all, I'm sure you've heard of the book House of Psychotic Women, an autobiographical topography of female neurosis in horror and exploitation films. This is everything you've heard. Like, this is a fantastic bit of horror analysis and sort of bringing you especially a female perspective on horror. If you've ever had certain questions in your head, like especially for me as a male viewer, like maybe some confusion as to like, okay, I see the horror viscerally and in fact, but like, what is the appeal of this? Like psychologically, where does this come from? And I don't have that perspective, right? Because and she opens up in very, very clear and easy to understand ways a lot of things that like, look, I'm sure there are things I probably could have picked up on eventually, but I'm glad I had somebody to be like, oh yeah, no, it's this combined with this and this, and it's like, oh yeah, I get it now. I wouldn't have found those pieces together myself, but thank you for sharing that with me. Also, this book is like, I don't know how many different films she references in the text of this thing, but I would wager to say that I've heard of a lot of movies, and I bet 50% of the movies she's talking about in this book I have never heard of before in my life. It's this exhaustive, just incredible reference material for like things. I have a movie waiting for me right now on my desktop. I've got a link to it on Daily Motion. It's a movie from 1990 called Singapore Sling. That I'm very much looking forward to checking out. It's a Greek film, I believe. But so that is awesome on that level. Just crucial analysis again, if especially if you're interested in any way understanding a bit more of a I don't want to say she speaks for all women, but definitely at least a educated, experienced female perspective. Just a really really and also just a very brave, like she does all of this analysis through telling stories about her own life and her own horrors and traumas and bad experiences and things that she's dealt with. It's just a very kind of open and brave bit of personal storytelling as well, to kind of, but to be willing to like use her own experience to illustrate the points she's trying to make, because there are definitely moments where there are conflicts between feminist theory and horror appreciation at times, and how can we make those two things jive? And obviously some people are going to make their arguments and they're going to agree or disagree, but I think she makes some very coherent, very understandable points about a lot of what the arguments that she's trying to make, and what the value of these sorts of things are. It's a fantastic book. I can't. Again, if you're interested in any way in horror films in an academic sense, like let's really break down and talk about the themes and what's really going on behind the curtain here, and like if that interests you, this is definitely one you should put on your list as soon as possible. Wow, I ranted a while on that one. It's a really good fucking book.
And a reminder, that is House of Psychotic Women, an
An
autobiographical
autobiographical
topography of
topography of
female
female
neurosis.
neurosis in horror and exploitation films.
Yep, by Kira Janice, but I know I'm pronouncing that wrong. How is it
Kayla.
actually pronounced?
Kayla.
Kayla.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
spelled
Kayla.
Kierla, but apparently it's pronounced Kayla. She even talks early on in the book about how, like, yeah, no, it's Kayla.
Is
That's
that
interesting.
Welsh, Irish, one of
I
those
I
something?
don't know. She's
Okay, I'm
Canadian, is
curious.
what I know.
Oh, okay. Curious about the origin of that name. Okay, neat.
It
Because I
definitely
just know like
strikes me as
Irish
some
names. I'm
sort of British
terrible.
Isles. Yeah, it definitely has
Yeah,
that sort of British Isles kind of vibe to it. You're not wrong.
yeah.
Kayla
My friend
Janice, you're
Kevin spells his
definitely
name
listening.
super crazy.
You're definitely listening to our podcast where I rambled about your cool book. So please tell us where you're from. Is it Welsh? Is it? I don't know. Is it some sort of
I
weird
can't see her name without thinking of Room or Goo, which is unfortunate.
Rue
Yeah, Room or Goo.
Margoo?
Oh, okay. I think I'm
Thanks for the
Twilighted out.
memories. Are ya? All right, so
Yeah.
we did your news, we did your not horror movies, we did your new horror movies, we did your not new horror movies, we did your franchise of the
Books.
month. Michelle, are you gonna try and do you know what your franchise of the month is gonna be
I
next month?
do. I
Maybe some
do, and
people
you won't
want
be
to be
mad about this
prepared and
one.
watch along. What's it gonna be?
I am watching All Four Crows. The Crow. I
Okay.
know, but the first two, my brother's name
Okay.
is Brandon Lee. I grew up with
Oh,
The Crow.
okay.
I'm excited. I have not seen the later two. I'm not expecting much, but the first two, I really like City of Angels, but I also have a nostalgia factor there because it was one that I got to see in the theater, and I'm excited to rewatch them now. So,
I'd like to thank you all for tuning in to the final edition of Michelle in
hold up.
Review
Do
on
you
We
not
Watch
like The
Shudder.
Crow? Hold up.
Um,
Wait, do you not like The Crow?
it's not for me.
I didn't know that. I had assumed. Okay, well, I'm excited to watch The Crow, and you don't have to watch it with me.
Oh,
So.
thank you for your permission, Michelle.
Well, you said you might want to watch along. I'm just saying, like, okay, well then fine, don't watch The Crow. I'll
Oh,
watch The Crow. And it's funny because I made this decision like a couple days ago, and then they just put out the
Michelle,
image of Skarsgård as
Michelle,
he is
it's
the Crow.
called
Yeah,
it's called the Crow, and his name is Eric Draven.
yeah,
Eric D. Raven, the
yep,
Crow.
yeah.
Say goodnight,
I don't see the
Michelle.
problem. Good night, Michelle.
For more horror content, visit WeWatchShutter.com, where you'll find our world-famous, patent-pending Ghoul blog and Squelch files, as well as a schedule of upcoming episodes. Find us on social media at WeWatchShutter on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and I guess Twitter if you're still doing that for whatever reason. You can email us. mail@WeWatchShutter.com is the address. mail@WeWatchShutter.com. You can even call and leave us a voicemail, 701-566-9510. No, really. 701-566-9510. Give it a shot. See what happens. We Watch Shudder is a production of Rat Factory Media.